Eugene, Springfield, Lane County, Oregon. Support our work. Make a donation at strpod.com. Thank you for listening to Spent the Rent Podcast. And now, here's your host, Patty Rose.
Welcome to the Spent the Rent Podcast. I'm your host, Patty Rose. My guest today is Dana Petersen-Crabb from ShelterCare, a Lane County nonprofit providing housing, medical respite, and behavioral health services for individuals and families experiencing homelessness. ShelterCare's medical respite program recently became the first in the Pacific Northwest to earn certification from the National Institute for Medical Respite Care. Today, we will dig into this milestone, the funding challenges ShelterCare is facing, and the future of their work. It is Wednesday, October 1st. Topic one. First of all, welcome, Dana. This is the second time I've had you on the podcast. First time in the studio. Thank you for doing this. So today we're going to get right into it. We're going to talk first about the medical respite certification process, what it means, and the community impact. What did the certification process look like for ShelterCare's medical respite program? And can you explain what the program is?
So about 2 years ago, we received a grant funding us to learn more about what other people are doing in Washington State and in Oregon regarding medical respite. And we got to, part of that was we were looking at goals that we had. So we established some goals, like we want to hit certain benchmarks with this. We worked with other like as cohort. So we would meet in person and online and just kind of talk about like what our barriers were, like what's keeping us from, successfully achieving these goals. And in that, about a year into it, we learned about the certification process. So through that, we were able to do the certification. And it's about a year-long process of identifying what type of care management we're going to be doing. Mm-hmm. So there's certain levels, like the highest level is like just below like what you would find in a nursing home, if not a little pretty close to that. And ours is just we're kind of a connection point. So people who are maybe in the hospital, but they don't necessarily, they have wound care needs, and in order to do wound care, one of the first things is usually like keep it dry and keep it clean. And that's really hard to do if you're outside.
Right.
So our location, we're located on Highway 99, and they have access to, their own bedroom, can lock up any medications that they need to in that room. There's safe storage there. A common room, and 3 meals a day. I think 3 meals a day. And it's worked out really nicely. The way that people come to us is through the Medicaid provider, OHP. So right now we have Pacific Source and Trillium. We're not 100% sure what it'll look like.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit, about the funding challenges. There was just, we'll get into that in a little bit.
The certification, though, came about over that year-long process. And, we achieved all the goals and hit all the points that they needed us to make. And so it's really exciting for us because it just puts a little, yes, we know what we're doing. And This is like, people have looked at us. They've, gone through these financials. They've gone through the types of services that we're providing. And they said that this is the type of service that we want our people to provide.
Yeah. This episode was supposed to be positive because this is a big deal. This is a big thing to get nationally certified. But then also with the funding challenges and what happened with the federal government basically subpoenaing all the records for OHP or for we'll talk about that. Maybe a little more than I do. But essentially, the federal government wants to kind of stop Oregon from allowing people to get care. Mm-hmm. And so it's not going to be good. We'll see how this looks in the future. What does recognition like this mean for your staff and clients?
Well, it's just like that additional thing, the certification, it was just so much work. And there was like several people who kind of touched on it and made sure that we're like, putting policies in place that are fair policies, that the care that we're providing is the best that we can. And so it just kind of like adds that layer of like, yeah, we did that.
Yeah, that's awesome. How long did you work on this?
It was a little over a year.
Wow. Yeah.
And it just happened like just a few months ago, probably March,
Yeah.
I think.
So now how does this change your role in the wider healthcare and housing system for ShelterCare as a whole?
Well, and we'll probably touch on this, is that medical respite in this community is really necessary. It's going to be cheaper in the long run. What you see is like there's going to be less because if you can't keep your wound dry and clean, you're going to have infections.
Yeah.
And then you're back in the hospital, or you're back in the emergency room, or you're back in the urgent care. And that kind of cycle repeats really quickly. But with our program is that you can stay for, several weeks at a time, or even, a month, and be able to get like the rest and recover. And then, hopefully we can move people on to, we have been able to help in some instances with some funding, deposits and things like that, so people can get a place right after they leave medical respite.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about medical respite in action, hospital partnerships, client recovery, and cost savings. How does medical respite improve outcomes for people transitioning out of the hospital care?
Like we've kind of been talking about is that, you have time, like that is so crucial, is that time to, without stress, relax, recover, and the faster you recover, the faster you can get back to whatever it is that you're doing.
I'm dealing with that personally. Essentially, it's like, I'll give a little side note. Anybody that's watched the show or knows me knows that I've been dealing with a vision issue that has made it to where I can't work. And I've had to do GoFundMe because I'm self-employed. So there's a lot of these services. I'm not so desolate that I actually can get help in a lot of ways. So I've had to do GoFundMe, and luckily I've got a lot of support, and I've been able to kick the can down the road so that I hopefully will be able to recover. But yeah, these issues are so tough. People think that there's so much assistance being just thrown out. It's difficult to get it.
It is. It can take months at a time. I know that, or there are certain, things outside of our control, that red tape, where it's like, well, you have to meet this and then do this first. And that's not always, that is not always like, oh, I can't do that tomorrow.
Sure.
So now I have to wait until things get much worse.
Yeah.
Or,
which is scary.
Yeah, it is really scary. And it's, and then even beyond that, like, with some of our other projects is, that I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, because like, I'm just looking back at this thing that, took up, maybe there's a series of events. Like, I had this big health thing and I lost my job. And then this other thing happened, and it just sort of like derailed everything. And it's just really challenging for folks, especially when you're dealing with like, we have an aging population, and those, it can be much tougher to recover from an injury, or, like even the simplest, like a cut, or, something that required stitches. And then you have all these compounding infections and stuff. And it's just like, and that's frustrating by itself. I mean, I know from my own experience is that I think I had an infection, and then on top of it, I was allergic, had an allergic reaction to like the ointment that I was using. And it was just like the mental, like I was in a bad mood for weeks. And that's just like the small thing. But it's so frustrating, because you're like, I should be able to do, like, in my mind and in my body, like the part that isn't injured, I should be able to do this.
Yeah.
But you can't.
What partnerships made this program possible?
So we had a partnership with Kaiser Permanente and NIMARC, the group that gave us the certification. And they've been wonderful. It gave our program the opportunity to attend in person 2 conferences, and that, we learned from other medical respite groups across the United States, and Canada. I think there was also some folks there. but it was really, really good experience. And like, I think any nonprofit can tell you, it's really hard to get to participate in those kind of
because there's just the
conferences.
funding. It's expensive. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were mentioning kind of like taking care of a wound early and how it can help from it getting worse. The first time you were on, we talked a lot about the housing first model, and that is like the same concept. It's like people don't understand that if you just make sure that somebody's housed, it's cheaper, than all of the services that you're going to have to do. And so I really encourage anybody that's interested to go back and listen to that past episode with you about the housing first model, because that really kind of nailed home what you guys are all about.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the funding challenges, the cuts impact, adopting services, and community support. How have recent funding reductions affected ShelterCare?
Well, it's quite a lot. So we had, and some of this is still coming out. So we had both there was a shortfall in funding for the shelter services, so emergency shelter units, and that also affected our medical respite, because we were going to open up about 4 new beds with medical respite, but we had to do away with that because we had to cut about 30% of our budget that we had originally wanted.
Yeah.
So lucky for us, we didn't have quite, it was going to be an expansion and support. So now we lost that. And about a week after that, we found out that so Pacific Source is a OHP provider, and they're leaving, not going to renew their agreement with OHA, or the Oregon Health Authority, and that'll start in January.
Wow.
And so we're really concerned because Pacific Source approves quite a few of their members to stay at medical respite. So we're trying to still figure out, like, what does that mean for medical respite in the future? So, the good news is that we are going to try to pivot, and, maybe we'll find a different way to reach out and help people.
Yeah. What programs, and this is on a broader scale, not just with ShelterCare, but what programs are you the most worried about that are at risk when cuts happen?
All of them.
OHP is going to be decimated because do you know what is happening with that? So I kind of mentioned it, the federal government. Can you kind of explain that? The federal government is basically subpoenaing the record so that they can kind of make the determination of the eligibility and override the state. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, there was that. And so I don't know that much about that. I feel like all of that information I lost that when finding out about Pacific Source.
Sure.
So I think they're somehow going to look at everybody's eligibility and then determine whether or not, but I don't know where that's at this point.
It's pretty early on. It's just there's a lot of overreach by the federal government happening right now in Oregon. Obviously, we saw what just happened in Portland, where I saw so many different content creators on TikTok and different things walking around in the beautiful streets of Portland, and they're like, "Where's this war zone?"
Yeah.
Yes, there's going to be some mischief in a big city. There's mischief in every town. But Portland is actually calm compared to where it was in 2020.
Yeah.
And this is just a way to divide people. And it's so scary. I don't know.
I grew up in Illinois, right across the river from St. Louis. And St. Louis and Detroit would always trade back and forth as to which is the most dangerous city. So coming from the most dangerous city, depending on the year.
I know.
But even then we would drive around St. Louis, walk through St. Louis, and I knew a lot more people who had been mugged or stuff like that. It's not like I'm like, oh, okay, now I get it. But here, I think when I first moved out here, I remember telling my family, I'm like, I don't know why they have news, because no one's getting shot all the time.
It's always domestic.
Yeah.
There's going to be isolated incidents where there's going to be violence everywhere, but every time you see murders and things like that, it's always domestic, meaning it's always targeted on people that know each other. So it's not just like a random, not that that's okay. I'm just saying that it's a different issue.
It's different. And it's such a weird, those kind of statistics are weird.
Yeah.
And they're based on just odd things.
The one thing I will say is, if you ever see the news though, and they talk about Roseburg, there's usually a machete involved.
Oh, interesting.
No, but so what can the community do to help these gaps? Is there any donation? Can you donate directly to ShelterCare?
You can donate directly to ShelterCare. We've got, if you visit our website, sheltercare.org, we have a donation page. You can also learn more about all of our programs, who we serve. We've got a lot of data and stuff like that on that website as well. We've also got a bunch of events coming up. This is a big October.
Oh yeah, the Halloween. Is that ShelterCare that puts that on?
We do
the zombie walk,
the Run for Your Life. It's October 19th, and it is a 5K run. And there we have zombies scattered throughout the run who jump out or sing,
right? Or
sometimes just scream. Last year we had some zombie cheerleaders who made up really funny cheers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really good time. It's we've got like medals, and if anybody under the age of 18 does the run, which I've seen some very fast kids out there. I don't know how they do it, but I was like, wow, that's really fast. And you're more than halfway done.
Yeah.
But everybody gets a medal, all the kids. And it's very exciting. So we're very excited about that. We also have a mega dance October 24th, and the dances are really, really good. They're a really good time. The Thrill the World dancers will come out and do their routine. Mm-hmm. And they do that throughout.
They do like Thriller or something?
Yeah.
I did not a 5K, but I've done one race, and it was called the Race for the Rest of Us. And I was walking down the bike path and with my dog, and they had this sign up, and they're like, would you like to enter the walk for the rest of us? And it was like $10 or whatever. And it was 40 yards.
Oh, nice.
so I didn't get the shirt because you had to pay a little more, but I thought that was hilarious that they're like, this is for the rest of us. But yeah, 5K. No, thanks.
I like it. No, thank you.
Okay. So where are we at? We're going to talk about the behavioral health program, mental health, dual challenges, and long-term stability. How does the behavioral health program integrate with housing and medical respite?
Well, a lot of our folks because we're housing first, I mean, the number one thing that we need to start that stability is housing. So once they get into housing, then there's like, well, now I have this other stuff that comes up, whether it be medical or mental. We have our behavioral health. We have 2 therapists and 2 skills trainers, and are looking to expand that into some peer support. Mm-hmm. Probably in the next, I don't know, months, 6 months, a year. But I know that they do great work. They have groups, they have one-on-one counseling. You've got other skill training, like coping skills that you can learn, just for an example. And they do really great work. And it's key to, like, you got to deal with your stuff. Once you get housed, it's not just everything falls into place. There's some more work to do.
Right. What are the biggest challenges that your clients typically face when housing and mental health overlap?
I
think you've kind of already mentioned it a little bit. It's just
like getting through the door.
Yeah.
It's like taking that first step and, meeting with the therapist for the first time. Because that's pretty.
And then following up and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. And knowing that, like, one of the things too, I feel like, is that you're interviewing the therapist as much as they're like, they're just there to meet with you. And if it doesn't work out, they're like, oh, well, that's fine.
Yeah.
And I think because I've definitely had my own, therapist over the year where I'm like, this isn't working out. I think I'm going to have to break up with you. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know why it's I think it's because you're so vulnerable that it can feel very much like, well, now you've tried to help me and you want to help me, but now it does feel like a breakup, but it's definitely, you have to find the person that's right for you, who's going to help you work on your issues. And it's not always going to be, one-on-one therapy working for you. You might benefit more from groups.
Sure. Yeah.
And we offer a number of different groups. So
it's about finding the right fit for each individual.
Exactly right.
How do you measure success in behavioral health outcomes?
That's so when you first come in to any behavioral health situation, you're going to do like an assessment, or
Right.
they're going to have an assessment. And from that assessment, they're going to help, you're going to work with your therapist to develop goals. And as time goes on, those goals are going to be achieved. So it might look different it's going to look different from person to person, but somebody might be able to like go to karaoke, and like that's really
Like,
what they
sure.
want to do, but their like social anxiety doesn't let them do that. So that would be the success in my book.
It's pushing through those barriers,
Yeah.
basically, like the mental barriers that we create.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's move on to looking ahead. Goals ahead, biggest obstacles, and community involvement. What are ShelterCare's main goals over the next few years?
Well, I think at this point we're kind of like, let's just survive.
Sure.
But I think we want to continue to be like, offer that housing first as best we can. I know that, we'll be restricted in terms of like those big barriers are going to be what the federal government tells us to do. So HUD can make new requirements, and so we'll have to meet those. But, ultimately, I just want to be able to maintain what we have right now and not lose any housing for people.
You've kind of mentioned this, but maybe we can add more. What challenges do you see standing in the way?
It's absolutely just funding.
Exactly.
The restrictions that we have on the funds are just going to become harder and harder to deal with. So the more donations that we can bring in, or the unrestricted funds, that's where we're going to need the biggest help.
This is changing gears, but one of the things that we talked about on the last episode is that we kind of broke down some myths about homelessness in Eugene or Lane County. And one of the things that you had said then, I think it was almost 2 years ago now, that you had said that most of the people that you deal with that come to you or are sent to you aren't from out of the area, that they're local. Is that still ringing true?
Yes.
Because I think a lot of people think that people are coming here for services, that they come here to be homeless.
Yeah.
And of course, that's going to happen. Like it does happen in small amounts. But the numbers of people that you do, they've lived here for over 10 years. That's correct. I just think that's so important to drill home, because these are our neighbors. These aren't just people coming to steal our money and our services. These are our family, our neighbors, our friends, our family that are in these positions. I mean, heck, I could be in that position in 2 months, so.
And it's all like, and I mean, like, that's for us, our population, the folks that we serve have a severe and persistent mental illness for a large majority. And they've just been here for a long time. They might have gone to Portland and come back, but that's about the extent of their travels.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, that's what you see. I just thought that was so interesting, because there's so many myths about. What are some other myths about the homelessness issue in Lane County that you'd like to discuss?
Yeah, the traveling is a big one, or that it's just a lack of jobs. It's they're like, they don't have, that they're lazy, or they just this was a choice that they made, but by and large, it's not a choice that they made.
Right.
It's like, just really being able to understand a lease.
How,
I mean, like, you can violate a lease and think like, oh, I am following the lease, but then I just keep getting in trouble, and not really understanding it. But it takes a couple of times, and then you get there. And our folks, I think a large majority of them are being taken advantage of most of the time by other people. Just kind of like, we had I don't know how often that this happens. This is totally pure anecdotal stuff. But we'd have people knocking on doors that don't know our people, but then our people would open the door and like just trying to be nice, and somebody's going to come in and stay on your couch and like take a shower, and then they're there for like a couple weeks later, and they're like, I don't know how.
So these are not people associated with any organization. They just know that there's these housing places that people are vulnerable, maybe undereducated on. So wow, that's not good. So basically, someone like what do you call it? Squatting right in front of you.
Yeah,
like that's wild.
We've with our, I think just in the last couple of years, I know that we've worked really hard to help people do exclusion notices. So if they can get the name of the person that keeps coming by that they can't quite get rid of, we can help do that. That's one of the ways that you can kind of trespass somebody from a whole property.
Yeah. Wow. Now, I don't know how to ask this, but Another myth that I hear all the time, and I did an episode recently where I had a friend on that we kind of talked about homelessness in Eugene a little bit, and we just were having a very kind of uneducated on the topic conversation. I kind of think that's fun to do every once in a while. You're obviously right in it. You work with it every day. I kind of just live my life and see the outsides of it, and then talk to people like you. And I know a little bit. My guest, she has her own way of looking at it, but we really got into, we kept talking about the connection between homelessness and drug addiction. And so I guess my question is, how often do you see people that are coming to you, or what percentage roughly, I don't need like a definitive number, but what percentage do you feel like the homelessness issues were caused by addiction?
Well, that's hard because it's like which one comes first?
Sure.
Because
mental health and
have
addiction.
Mental health, which can come up at, around like 19, 20 years old. The type of stuff that we're seeing is when it starts to come up quite a bit. But I couldn't say like which one. But I would venture to say that it's probably just the same as it is in the housed community, as the number of people who are struggling with addiction, whether that's alcohol or other drugs, like all of that stuff. I mean, like people use all the time and stay housed, but I don't know if like what the reasoning is that, somebody else who has a substance abuse issue, or uses substances. I mean, like, because sometimes it's just like a recreational thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I can't. There's not enough.
There's not a way to quantify it.
Yeah.
It's such a tough topic, because a lot of people just want to not care about the fact that these people are, like you said, have a little cut that ends up making it to where they have to have their leg amputated.
Yeah.
And they want to not care by just scoffing it off as that's drug addiction. But,
But where does that stop then?
I mean, I remember
it's like, oh, well, what about diabetes?
Right.
Because like, okay, well, you ate, did this, eating too much sugar cause this? Or like, there's like these quantifiers of like how much compassion we should be allowed to have.
I mean, if you're in the position currently, who cares how you got there? Like, because it's like, what do you mean? Like, I need help. And it, like we said before, it's more cost effective to help them than to just not, deal with the issue. So I don't know.
It just doesn't matter. Like, those things are hard for me because I'm like, I don't know where that stops.
I know.
Like,
well, and it's just easy. I'm
matter.
guilty of this too. I think we all are, of seeing something where you just get so frustrated with garbage and tent cities and all this different stuff, and people want to just cast it off as like it's your actions that cause this. But it's a collective thing. We have our part in all of this. There is also some of it that is really discouraging, because when you work hard and pay taxes and all that stuff, and then you see people that are just not pulling their weight, at least is the way that I would say it. It is frustrating. So I understand that, but people need to have compassion. People need to look at it like what it is. If the issue, we're worried about today, we're not worried about yesterday and how we got here.
Yeah. And it's usually people, like, one of the biggest things is like they don't have support.
Right.
So like, gosh, we could do, if we put like our same folks and they had like wealthy parents who wanted to take care of them and all that other stuff and got them treatment or, whatever the case may, medications, whatever the case may be. And then that's okay because they have this family who can take care of them. But if something happened to that family, instantly, like, that person is kind of left to us as the state or whoever to take care of, collectively take care of that person. I'm always like, we have to do this because it's
I'm in my 40s, and a lot of the people that I've known that I've grown up with have varying mental health issues. And so a lot of times, like, I have I'm not going to say names, but I have a person in mind that they get a lot of help from their mom, and that's totally great because they have that support financially and emotionally. And I'll talk to them, and they're always like, I don't know what I'm going to do when my mom is gone, because they basically like have good months and bad months with mental health, good months where they can stabilize and organize their bills. And then some months where they can't get out of bed, and it just makes it a challenge. So those are things that I worry about as time progresses for my age bracket, because at 43, when I'm 55, a lot of my friends, their families will be long gone, and I mean, already I've lost my mom and my brother, and my immediate family, the only ones left are my dad and my stepmom. And they don't have a lot of means to help and things like that. And I don't know. It is really scary when you live a life that you have to rely on people. and knowing that one day they will be gone and you will have to figure it out. And it's not like the mental illness just goes away with them being gone. So now you had mentioned it before, but I wanted to drill it home. How can policymakers and everyday residents support ShelterCare's mission?
I think by, just talking to those legislature, like, our representatives, whoever is, just keep talking and keep asking them, like, uphold, like, pay for these services, get involved in, like, your I don't know, the chamber.
Yeah, I think it's really important for people to go online and at least go online and watch city council meetings.
Absolutely.
And you can go to the city's website, eugene.gov, I believe, and springfield.gov. And I mean, just get more familiar with the cadence of some of this stuff. I've learned so much since I started this podcast. I mean, if you go back and you listen to my first season, I was like, what is plurality and majority voting? And these things that like most people don't even know, and it's so simple, but I had no idea. And I feel so much more, I don't know what the right word, connected and understanding. Yeah. I mean, I just had the mayor on, and I mean, not to toot my own horn, but if you go back and listen to that interview, I got some chops. I think it was a great conversation.
It was a really good conversation.
And we covered a lot of really, really important issues in a short amount of time. And she's a great talker. She's a wonderful person, and I'm super happy and with her as mayor. And I think that she's got a good balance of being, I don't know how to say this, but of not just being liberal minded alone. She's got a very broad way of viewing things. And so I think that she cares about everybody. And
there's always places for people to help. Like, it doesn't have to be like ShelterCare. Of course, I want you to
sure
donate to ShelterCare.
Yeah. But anything that you are passionate about.
There's a place for everybody. Like, it might not, just like our kind of collective work that we're doing in this community. We need everyone village. We need not the folks that I work with might not do well there, but there's definitely people that can do well there. The mission with some of the programs that they have, that does well there. I mean, like, somebody's going to find a place and it's going to click with them based on that philosophy or the mission of that place. And the same goes for a volunteer or some of our folks in the community abroad.
Yeah. Who is somebody that if somebody comes to you or is sent to you for services and then you find that they don't actually kind of meet what you guys do, who is somebody that you find yourself sending them to? Like another organization that you want to give a shout out?
Let's see. I've sent folks to, I know that we have sent folks to the Navigation Center.
And that's on 99.
On River Avenue. River Avenue across from Silver Lane. Equitable Social Solutions works out of there. I've sent people to Laurel Hill Center, Homes for Good. We've worked with. We can send people out to get affordable housing through them. Core. Everyone Village, Opportunity Village, Peace Village.
Core, I did a podcast with way back in the beginning, and they're awesome. They really help a lot with like the disadvantaged youth and street feeds and all kinds of different stuff. Check them out. Core Eugene, they're awesome.
They're definitely like that mutual aid. Like, they work with tons of people,
and they have kind of like a punk rock edge that I think fits Eugene and fits the culture. I mean, they're awesome. Well, is there anything you want to add before we get out of here?
Were we going to talk about Thomas?
So I'm glad you did that. We do have to mention Thomas Shooter. Shout out to Thomas Shooter. I'm obligated legally to mention his name.
Speaking of which, I do have to say that his arc has been wonderful in my mind, because my first introduction was watching like a city council meeting or some sort of like community meeting, and he got up with a guitar and sang a song, and I was just like, it was one of the first times that I felt like I really like this community. And now he's like,
he's doing it. Thomas is incredible. And if you go back and you listen to the first interview I did with him, he was running for mayor of Eugene, and he's a hip hop artist. And I kind of disrespected him in a way, because I was like, are you being serious? And then I realized now every single citizen in our community is eligible to be in politics.
Yeah.
We have to break that thought of like, oh, I don't know anything about it. We'll learn. Do you have a good moral code? Do you have ethics?
Mhm.
You know, let's run for it. I mean, I'm in Eugene now. I was flirting with the idea of running for city council in Springfield, and that still may happen. I wouldn't even touch Eugene politics.
Yeah.
But you know, Thomas is an incredible human being, and I'm super proud of his arc, like you said. And thank you for bringing him up, because now I won't get sued. I don't know. I always joke about that because I always find a way to mention him, and I'm surprised he hasn't popped on. So he must be sleeping or working.
He's probably busy.
Yeah. So, well, that's my conversation with Dana from ShelterCare. If you want to support the show, go to strpod.com. You can find the GoFundMe link on the front of the page. If you click on that, it'll have information on my battle with CSR, which is an eye condition that's made my vision spotty at best. I've had to step away from the barber chair for now. And as a self-employed worker, I don't qualify for a lot of the unemployment services. I'm working hard to find new options, but they're limited. So if you'd like to help me stay afloat and keep this podcast going, you can donate through the GoFundMe link at my website, strpod.com, or go directly via PayPal or Cash App, and it's Patty Rose 541. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.